Blog Talk Radio.
Between what we see and what we think we know and believe, there are worlds. There are things that we cannot understand. Bigfoots Pad Paranormal Investigations team is in charge of the field. Bigfoots Pad Paranormal Investigations team.
Hello, welcome to another night of Bigfoots Pad Paranormal Investigations team on Blog Talk Radio. Tonight, we will be talking about zombies, of all topics, and I think it should be really interesting in hearing what everybody has to say. And we'll begin off with some news from Jeremy.
Yep, and on the line tonight we have me, Jeremy, also known as King Sasquatch. I'll let my team members introduce themselves a little bit before I start the news.
Oh, I'm Archangel, also known as Brent.
I'm Mothman Warrior 1.0, also known as Nick.
And Tim hasn't called in yet. He should be pretty soon, though.
Okay.
For tonight's news, I would like to start off with a really strange one. It's titled, "Half a Pound of Human, Please." Germany's Grim Reaper Gunther von Hagens opened his first Body World supermarket today with chunks of human remains for sale. The man who preserves corpses of animals and humans with the special plastic solution is now selling cross-cuts of bodies in what German media has called a cabinet of horrors. It says, a chunk of a human head will cost the buyer 1,400 pounds, and a cross-section of a human body will cost 14,000 pounds. I just want to hear Brent and Nick what they have to say on this one.
That's a little disturbing.
Yeah, instead of selling body parts and pieces of body parts.
Nick wants to buy some.
Yeah.
What do you think? Did you hear it, Tim?
Yeah, I heard. That's pretty freaking disturbing.
Well, here's another good one. Bigfoot is actually in the process of being put on the United States endangered species list.
Well,
I thought it was already on the government endangered species list.
I don't know. I know it is in some states, but not all around.
Oh, okay.
Some states I know, and then I think they did it in India and possibly Australia. I'm not sure, but they did it in some other countries too. So, but like I think Jer said, it was done in some certain states, but I think now the
Nick. I don't know, Brent. Do you know what the Illuminati is, Brent? Like who they are?
The Illuminati, the secret government organization,
or like the richest
government
people.
Yeah,
I know about them.
Supposedly
There's a guy
people
named Daniel F. Doolin. He's a big author on the Illuminati. They said that I guess they had an Illuminati meeting recently with a bunch of those types of people, and they actually had their objectives, and I guess this guy wrote down their objectives from the meeting. There's 10 of them, and I just wanted to see, since Brent and Nick are interested in this sort of thing, I thought this would be interesting to hear what you guys have to say. Number 1, will the Euro survive? Number 2, development in Europe, Europe's exit strategy. Number 3, do we have institutions to deal with the world economy? Number 4, Greece. Number 5, NATO and Afghanistan. The practical agenda for the alliance. Number 6, Iran and Russia, economic and financial threats to the alliance. Number 7, consequences against terrorism. Number 8, influence of domestic issues on American foreign policy. Number 9, the outlook of Japan's economy. And number 10, and the most important one according to them, was the future of the U.S. dollar.
Dollar? The U.S. dollar?
Yeah, they said that. That was one of their top priorities, was to try to see what happens to our dollar, or if they're all going to lose their money and all that.
Well, I was talking to Tim earlier today, and actually was telling him about how Obama and the government want to make the NAFTA, or the something trade. Basically it's a trade agreement, the National Atlantic Free Trade Agreement. I think that's what it stands for. It's between Canada, Mexico, and the United States, and they want to combine all those countries with one single monetary unit, and then get rid of the dollar and the Canadian dollar and the peso, and they want to give one monetary unit for all 3 of those countries, similar to how the euro has it.
Oh, goody, goody, goo-drops. Everything I dreamed is coming true.
Well, all I got to say is that'd be a pretty bad idea, but Mexico would be making out pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
are you interested in that sort of thing, Nick? I know you were the guy who was following up on that for a while.
Yeah, actually, I do pay close attention to that in the media. You can, if you listen close to what some of these people say, it's scary. I mean, there's this guy named George Soros. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of him. He's a really big investment firm owner, and it manages international funds. And back in 1992, right before the Bank of England broke, he pulled out all his money, like over £1 billion pounds out of the Bank of England, right the day before it broke. So a lot of people blame him for the economic problems that went on in England. And he himself has started up an organization that promotes a one-world economy and a one-world government. He openly talks about it. It's so blatant in people's faces they don't realize what's going on. And this guy has a lot of yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you really quick, but I just had a quick thing to ask you guys on the line. Our show, something's wrong with Blog Talk, so we might have to. It might say the show ends, and we might have to continue talking. Like, you know what I mean? It might have like a weird little.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to say the time's messed up, so it might end early. I don't know, but if it ends early, we'll just keep talking, and it'll record it and all that still. But anyways, continue, Nick.
Okay. Okay. George Soros, who is this rich bank. Well, he's not a banker, but he owns he's chairman of Soros Funds Management, and like I said, he bought out £1 billion from the Bank of England the day before the bank broke. And people blame him. They say he's the guy who broke the Bank of England. And I found the name of his organization. It's called the Open Society Institute. That society advocates for using a one-world currency and the uniting of all international governments into like one type of thing, kind of like a worldwide NATO or something like that. So all the powers of all the sovereign countries in the world will be consolidated in one like council of people. But And he's got some strings over in the Obama administration. So there's stuff going behind the scenes that the press doesn't tell you.
Well, there's another news story that I was going to get to.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Our last news story, actually, there's a guy named Jonathan Trapp. He became the first person to drift across the English Channel using helium balloons. The 36-year-old daredevil made the 22-mile crossing in a chair attached to a bundle of 54 colorful balloons. Once over France, he cut away a few of the balloons to descend. Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That sounds like something we do.
Well,
would you sing?
What were you saying, Nick?
I was just going to ask you, would you sing the silly song while flying over Europe with a bunch of pink balloons tied to a chair?
Of course.
All right, yeah, let's start the topic for tonight.
Sorry, I was writing in the chat room. So anyways, I'm going to start the show with one of the weirdest, most controversial subjects. It's our military dealing with zombieism. And I have two stories I was going to start with, but Brent's our conspiracy expert, or our most knowledgeable, and I was going to have him elaborate a little bit on this. As of 2006, our government came up with a serum. This was from another researcher I got this from. I used to talk to him on the internet. But anyways, this researcher told me that our government came up with a serum that could make the human blood pump through your veins and restart your heart after you're dead. The only problem is, since people have been dead for prolonged times, that they're mentally retarded or they're or there's problems. But anyways, they said they successfully brought people back to life, but a lot of them are brain dead. But they're trying to work on this. Our military is. What do you think about that, Brent?
I think it's a little strange that they're trying to do that, because obviously you know how the brain works. You need blood to keep the brain working, and if it, you know, you would have to do that, like, you would have to have it in your system even before you die. Because after you die and then they inject you with that, of course you're going to have some amount of brain damage. But yeah, like you said, the military is working on that, trying to, you know, make super soldiers that won't die, or zombie soldiers as you would call them. But it's possible. But I think they would have to try to make something that would be able, like not like a vaccine, but like a shot they would give to our soldiers. So if they were to ever perfect this serum.
Well, the other thing also that I was wondering is, if you have an army of zombies, how would that compare to an army of normal soldiers? And also, how would you fight an army of zombies? If they're like they are, like you see on the movies, if they're like that, how would you combat that? How would you control them, or I guess what I'm trying to say?
There wouldn't be any kind of way to control them unless you actually had, like, you know how our government, research now, they have, like, tiny microchips you can put in the brain for, you know, amputees to control certain body parts. But they'll probably try to, you know, create a microchip so they could actually remotely control them. Like here, like if we had guys out in Afghanistan right now that had that in them, you know, they would control them over here, like remotely control them. But I don't see how you would be able to actually use them in combat as, like, you probably use them as like a shield at first, because they wouldn't be that much helpful. They wouldn't be able to operate weapons, obviously, because of the amount of brain damage they would have, or motor skills or anything like that. They would just be like big walls of people.
What about their legs? They don't need those.
Yeah, like I was saying, or you just put a piece of meat hanging from their helmet and they would chase the meat forward and rush the enemy, right?
Well,
Another one of the interesting stories I got. I don't know if I truly believe this or not, but this next story, I'm going to give a little introduction. It came from 5 guys that were in Vietnam in the 60s, and this also comes from one of the soldiers, actually, from the Viet Cong. But anyways, I don't know a lot about this. I just have like one article on here. In an attempt to turn the tables, the U.S. Marine Corps developed a Civil Operations and Revolutionary Development Support, or CORDS program, which assigned small units to patrol the villages in the Vietnam War. The Marines sought to recruit members of indigenous tribes in the mountainous region of Vietnam to help them with mapping and speaking the language, is what it says. But the Marines quickly discovered that the tribes were fearful of venturing into certain areas because of the presence of Ma, or phantoms. One tribe in particular, the Montang Grand, I think is how you say that, spoke of reanimated corpses that haunted the jungle, drinking the blood and consuming internal organs of people unlucky enough to cross their path. And it says, the U.S. commanders dismissed the claims of local superstition because over here in the States we don't believe in that kind of stuff mainly. It said it wasn't superstition at all, really. Reports of troop encounters with ghouls in the jungle began around 1965. At first, the stories involved troops catching glimpses of ghostly figures moving through the jungle. Soldiers who saw these creatures described them as having fangs and black eyes. And then soldiers began to disappear, and in one incident, 2 American soldiers rescued one of their comrades from a creature that appeared to be that wasn't affected by their bullets. The U.S. commanders initially suspected vampire-like creatures, but Vietnam is home to 41 species of bat and had a history of strange outbreaks of weird diseases. One person infected in an isolated jungle had no access to a vaccine, could quickly spread the infection through an entire community. It says the government has a secret file that speaks about these, almost like Project Blue Book, I guess you could say. And it says there's several high-ranking people from the Saigon area, it says, in 1966 had a joint group with the U.S. government to try to address what was going on. And it says that there's here's the conspiracy with another thing. They said the Vietnam herbical warfare program was started, and they said the military chose a defoliant known as Agent Orange, and they sprayed 20 million gallons over it to try to keep these zombies or whatever they are out of the areas. And it says that the flamethrowers, they claim, were used to try to fend off these weird animals. They said that the flames kept them away or something.
That's very interesting.
I don't know. What do you think about that, Brent? Like to sum it all up, there were zombie-like creatures reported in Vietnam, in the Vietnam War. And they said that we were spraying Agent Orange and used a bunch of flamethrowers to try to keep the monsters away. And it said that there's a secret government file on it, and they said that there's several reports of these.
Well, did we create them, or did the Vietnamese create these? Or did they just
they don't know. They're not ours. They're not from the United States. They said that it's something that was already there when we got there.
I don't know too much about that whole incident, but I don't know that much about Agent Orange either, but the only thing I know about is that we were spraying it on our guys to do testing. But as far as that whole situation goes, it sounds improbable. Like, did you say they were like spirits?
They said that those guys wrote a book on it or something. I don't really know a whole lot about it. Sounds kind of strange to me, but I don't know if it could be real or not. What do you think, Nick?
I think, an interesting thing could be when you look at voodoo down in various areas in the Caribbean area, like Haiti. There are reports of reanimated corpses that these voodoo priests and priestesses can resurrect from the dead. Some have been reported to be shams and hoaxes. They use some type of chemical that puts somebody to sleep in such a deep sleep that they appear medically dead, but then they come back to life. But others have appeared to be not as easy to explain away. And
oh no, I was just asking you, what do you think about that one incident I was telling you, Nick, about the U.S. government in Vietnam with the zombies?
Oh, that's what I was about to say. My point is, there could be maybe some type of black magic thing going on with the Vietnamese tribes out there. They're probably messing with some paranormal things that we fully can't comprehend, and maybe these zombies are some sort of manifestation of those paranormal forces. And that's why the bullets and the orange, what is it, the orange 16 can't have an effect on these creatures. Agent Orange, yeah. These weapons, you said, didn't have an effect on these creatures, and if they're and the flamethrowers didn't even work. Well, if these things aren't having an effect on them, that seems to indicate that there's some sort of super paranatural property that these entities have, at least according to the reports and what information we have.
Well, what's your opinion, Tim?
I agree with Nick, and I mean, I think it could be like some kind of black magic stuff. Like maybe they're taking remedies that slow down their heart rate, make them appear medically dead. I believe that.
It's kind of odd that we would actually have a government file on it. I mean, I don't know whether there is or not, but I think it's kind of strange.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that go on in the world that people aren't as open-minded to, and you know, like our last, was it our last guest that we interviewed? He said, you don't see the UFO unless you believe in it. Excuse me. So, I don't know if I believe in that per se. Yeah, no, I just sounds like
Babe Ruth when he had cancer or whatever, throat problem.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but I'm just saying, there's probably, I think there's something in the brain that if you switch it off, you become, I guess you want to say blind to certain things in the world if you switch it off. Some type of mechanism in the brain. I mean, that's just my theory.
Well, here's another strange fact. One of those government people that was working on creating zombies for our military, the guy just sent me a quote in our email, and it says, the zombies at first were incapable of thinking for themselves. They have no prior knowledge as who it was before it died. And it says, oddly enough, we already saw a lot of the same symptoms surface in young kids when they joined the military, is what it says. And when he said he asked one of our government people to quote that, or for a comment, he said that's a story for another time, is what he said he was told.
Well,
what do you think, Brett?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll just say something real. I'll just say something real quick. Well, when they eject these bodies with this, you're talking about the serum again, right? Or another type of.
I'm talking about the guys, the serum that they used to pump into the, like the first thing I was talking about.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, like I said, being a paranormal investigator, I've looked at many different areas of the paranormal. One thing is parapsychology, which studies have been done in American universities, particularly at Duke University, that shows that there's some type of higher consciousness that a human possesses. Well, after death, this higher consciousness could go away. I believe it's a soul, but everybody's free to believe what they want. This higher consciousness goes away, and then you're removing half of a person, basically. A person then has a higher consciousness and a lower consciousness. And the zombie is just the reanimation of the lower consciousness. That's why it can't remember its identity, because the higher consciousness is the identity. But that's just my small little take on it.
Yeah, Brent, were you listening when I told you about what the quote was from the other investigator on the zombies?
Oh no, I was actually online right now looking for some information on it.
He said the zombies weren't capable of thinking for themselves at first. They said, and they had no prior knowledge of who they were. And it says, oddly enough, I saw a lot of the same symptoms surface in young kids when they joined the military. And then when I guess the investigator, Aaron, asked one of our military personnel that would be in charge of that for a comment, the guy told him that was a story for another time, that he wasn't going to get into that. So he didn't deny that it was happening. He just said that he wasn't going to get into that.
I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, well, you know, the government isn't exactly trying to tell us everything, so.
According to the Time magazine in 1978, a man called Clairvius Narcissi turned up alive and well and a little worn around the edges after having been declared dead and buried 20 years before. He even had a death certificate to claim this. I guess this man turned up alive somewhere. It says, it seems the man refused to sell his share of his family land holdings, and after that a witch doctor put a spell on him. And like he said, he was dead and buried, and he could remember this, but apparently unburied a short time later, although he couldn't remember who did it, and was actually working, this is the part that gets kind of strange, he was working as a zombie slave on a plantation with many other zombie-like people. The Time article goes to say that in 1964, his zombie master died, and he wandered across the island as a psychotic gaze for 16 years. But here's another thing that's strange. They said that in 1978, this made it to the news because they said he actually stumbled into a public market where his sister worked, identifying himself with a secret nickname that only him and his sister knew. And they said that along with this man, they said 3 other people came back around the same time, claiming that they worked at the same place he did, and they were buried 20 years before also.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You think that's a weird one, Brent?
Yeah, just a little.
What do you think of the zombie slaves? I think that's kind of strange.
Zombie
I don't know,
slave?
it's like the voodoo stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, like I said earlier, these witch doctors could be messing around with supernatural forces that we can't contemplate. And
well, that one was in Germany.
Well, you can have there can be witch doctors in there. You know what I mean? Workers of magic, so to say. Yeah, or it could have been a sham. I don't know, But it's definitely strange if if all the details are accurate.
Well, on the same line, I was going to talk about a strange zombie outbreak in Cambodia. There's been a small outbreak of zombieism in a small town near the border of Laos in northeastern Cambodia. I think it's in 2004, I think. The culprit was discovered to be a mosquito native to the region carrying a new strain of malaria, which so far has a 100% mortality rate and kills victims in fewer than 2 days. After death, the parasite is able to restart the heart from its victim for up to 2 hours after the initial death of the person, where the individual behaves in an extremely violent ways from what is believed to be a combination of brain damage and a chemical released into the blood during resurrection. Cambodian officials say that the outbreak has been contained and the public has no need to worry. But the general, Ari Suri is how I think you say that, had this. This is his comment. We have obtained several samples of the new parasite and plan to learn how it starts the heart and major organs after decease. We intend to use this to increase the quality of life for everyone. And the U.S. Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, opposed the plan, saying that the Cambodian government holds a great biological weapon that could destroy large parts of the world. It should be immediately done away with. And the Cambodian officials, they didn't say anything back after that. But the United Nations team was dispatched to Cambodia to confirm the safety of biological research, and they said that there's a secret conspiracy that maybe the NATO has captured this.
Yeah, that sounds pretty scary.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I mean, imagine going down the street and you get hit with a I don't know, like a needle or something, like a blow dart, and it was dipped in some type of chemical with that virus on it. You'd be screwed.
Well, what do you think about all that, Brett? Like the disease, I guess you would call it, the disease and the whole biological warfare and all that.
I think that could be a little scary. Just turning a whole nation into zombies.
I mean, yeah, it'd be Resident Evil except real.
Well, the strange thing about that one, though, is it's caused by a mosquito. But again, just like they were saying, if the Cambodian government wanted to make a bomb or something that could spread this disease, that could potentially be worse than like a nuclear weapon.
Oh yeah, because did it say if it's contagious or not?
They never really said, but I'm guessing that it is because they said it's a form of malaria, and malaria is contagious, isn't it? I know it's spread through mosquitoes mainly.
Well, yeah, just imagine the Cambodian government gets some operative to come over here to the United States. They go down to Louisiana, Florida, and other swamplands of the United States, and they just release this virus into the swamps. And then the mosquitoes get with this virus caught, and this is worse than the West Nile virus. This is like West Nile times to the 10th power or something. And it's really scary if you think about it.
Well, what's Tim's take on this? He hasn't really talked in a while.
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, it would be pretty scary if they manipulate that into a weapon. Then they could, I wouldn't say they could become a huge threat, but they could at least gain some kind of push towards their end, maybe if they threaten other countries,
Yeah, I mean, it's...
So once they have to make it threaten other countries and get more power in the world.
Well, NATO obviously thinks it's scary because NATO was down there. They said in biological suits and things.
Well, exactly. And if NATO has possession of it too, they could, for all they know, they could be distributing it throughout their nations that are part of NATO, and then so it could be a weapon used throughout the world.
Well, like I said earlier when we were talking about Illuminati, New World Order type stuff, if that virus falls into those people's hands, who knows what can happen.
Well, do you think that
Well, and I got one thing that too. Or if this falls into the wrong hands, they could even use it for terrorism.
Yeah. Osama, I'm going to make people zombies.
Well, as far as the mosquito thing, all you'd have to do is either unleash a whole bunch of those mosquitoes in a general area, like, say, the Everglades, and we would all of us would have some sort of a weird thing.
Yeah, we could. There's potential for that. Yeah, would be crazy.
Well,
we
have 25 minutes left in the show, and we were going to go to a quick commercial break. But when we come back, we are going to discuss more on zombies and the living dead. And you are listening to BFP Radio.
I love Baco. It's rich in chocolate tea. Chocolate flavored Baco is mighty good for me. Mama puts it in my milk for extra energy. Baco gives me iron and sunshine vitamin D. Oh, I love for me.
Oh, we've gone bananas for Big Banana in crayon. You'll learn to write a lot of ways. Oh, we've gone bananas for Big Banana in crayon. The colors are so bright and gay. Oh, you can learn to color, write smooth lines or fat. Draw a banana and give it a hat. Okay, bunch, you'll go.
Hello, I'm Mr. Ed. A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. Go right to the source and ask the horse. He'll give you the answer that you endorse. He's always on a steady course. Talk to Mr. Ed. People yakety-yak the street and waste your time a day. But Mr. Ed will never speak unless he has something to say. A horse is a horse, of course, and this one will talk to his voice is hoarse. You never heard of a talking horse? Well, listen to this.
I am Mr. Ed.
And welcome back to BFP Paranormal Radio. Our commercials got a little jumbled up there for a minute. I am Mr. Ed.
We're off to see the wizard.
We are the Wizard of the Living Dead.
We were speaking about we were speaking about zombies that our military has actually been experimenting with, and I know as far as that, Russia has also been experimenting with the bringing strange creatures to life and all that. And on the same topic, Nick mentioned Haiti zombies. So we actually have some questions relating to the Haiti zombies, and I was going to explain those for a little bit. The creation of real-life zombies began in the practice of Haiti that's linked in the practice of voodoo. Although magic is typically credited with the creation of a zombie, some very large drugs are used to cause the half-living state of creatures. American biologist Wade Davis found that a chemical called tetrodotoxin, which is obtained from a pufferfish, was actually very effective in causing nerve paralysis. Another chemical crucial to the creation of real-life zombies is a fluid secreted by a toad native to Haiti called the bufo marinus. A cocktail of other chemicals, including other sorts of toxins, were used to aid the paralysis and mind control process that led to the creation of zombies, and people use it to enslave infected individuals, is what they were saying. But here's the effects of the drug cocktail, which I thought was the best part of what I was bringing up. While zombies may not be mindless, undead rotting creatures depicted in horror movies, real-life zombies are individuals who were buried in their coffins and dug up later. If the victims were left in their coffins too long, the effects of the mind-control drugs would be strengthened, but the lack of oxygen caused irreversible brain damage.
So, I believe that could be true.
What's your opinion, Brent?
The whole thing with the whole pufferfish thing was a little weird. I thought that kind of stuff would kill you if you even touch that stuff.
I know. Me personally,
Nick knows a lot about
I don't believe in zombies, but like Nick was saying, I believe that people could be manipulating things. Like injecting people with weird things that slows their heart rate and everything.
Yeah, there's all sorts of questions that might not be answered with just information we know.
Well, I have a window that I pulled up. It says the top 3 famous zombie outbreaks in U.S. history. It says Key West, Florida, 1935. On Labor Day, September 2nd, 1935, a major hurricane hit the Florida Keys in a string of islands separating the Gulf of Mexico from the Atlantic Ocean. Well, that's the Florida Keys, in case nobody knows. The hurricane, one of the only 2 Category 5 storms ever recorded in the United States, hit the Key West, and the most popular of the Keys. As day turned to light, heavy rains and winds over 150 miles an hour rolled over the island, destroying virtually everything. Amid the destruction, infected rats began roaming the island, and by morning, the first of many reported zombies, in quotations, appeared. Many islanders mistook the zombies for Day's hurricane survivors, and I guess they said that there were several of these people that were reported, and it says, to make a long story short, the people were actually drowning because they were leaping into the waters to try to get away from these creatures or these weird people. And it says within days we sent National Guard down there, and it says a total of 3,500 people were reported to be infected. And it says that there's pictures to go with this actually on this website. I'm posting that in the chat room right now.
That's pretty interesting.
What do you think about that, Brent?
About what? Sorry, I wasn't really
The
paying
whole
attention
Key
to
West
that.
zombies thing. Were you listening, Brent?
No, I was actually looking at the chat room right now. Where to keep?
What do you think, Nick?
Well, you sometimes in history, in American history especially, we find various outbreaks of vampires and zombies and whatnot. And I can't doubt every single case. I'm not omnipotent. I can't see and know everything, but maybe there was one strange phenomenon or two, and then maybe the stories just got escalated from there, and it turned into an outbreak of a paranoid construction of the public. I don't know, but that's my guess.
Well, as far as we're concerned with zombies, there's zombies reported in the Civil War and at other points throughout American history, and I don't know. With me, I personally think zombies are kind of a give or take story. Like in the words of Stanton Friedman, they go in my gray basket. What do you think, Brent? Like, what's your personal opinion on zombies?
I think they could go either way. I mean, you can't really disprove them or approve of them. Well, you can, but it's not like we're anywhere close to actually doing anything about that. Like, why? What would be the need to actually create a zombie?
To look at.
I'm not exactly sure.
Well, the most close, actually, that hasn't been done is because of nature. The zombies from the malaria diseases, and that can be used as a biological weapon. So that poses a very real threat to the world, and that scares me. I didn't know about that. Now that I think about it, it scares me.
You called down the thunder. Well, now you got it.
Thank you for the words of reassurance.
Yeah, because
that wasn't me.
Go ahead, Tim.
Like Nick was saying, first, the theoretical, if the world was in World War III, half the world gets nuked out, and then you got, now the survivors have to fight mutated zombies.
Yeah,
I'm nice.
like I said, it's Resident Evil, all, except real life.
Yeah,
imagine
Brent, would you rather fight an army? Would you rather fight a zombie of terrorists, or would you rather fight an army of a lot of zombies?
I'd rather fight zombies because they're more predictable than terrorists.
Well, they never said how far along our government's research with zombies came. They just said there's a research facility near Michigan, or it's in Michigan somewhere, and they actually said that researchers that research zombieism, that they were actually coming up to this research facility, and I guess it's kind of like Area 51, where they have that you could be shot if you pass this line sort of thing. And he was saying that there was zombie testing going on. He said every once in a while, he said that you would see him bringing people in and out on stretchers and things like dead bodies. So he said they have pictures of this, which is kind of cool.
Well, I know another story I read a couple weeks back about a guy named Dr. Venter, who is basically the pioneering scientist for genetic engineering. And him and his team at a university in New York, I believe, New York or Pennsylvania, they managed to take a genetic code and synthesize a genetic code out of, some various proteins and other chemicals. And then they took this genetic code that they made and they put it in another a bacterial cell. And then the bacterial cell came alive after they put in this genetic code. So basically that can be shown that they could design, actually what they want to do is they want to design a bacteria that can eat oil with this this genetic engineering technology. But what that can also lead to is developing, I know you guys might be tired of my Resident Evil comparisons, but they could really make a T-virus? They could really do something like that with that technology.
And then next thing you know, we'll have Nemesis running around, huh, Brent?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Tyrus and Nemesis and... Imagine you're walking... I said, imagine you're walking down the street at night and you come across a liquor.
Well, the only thing is, as far as zombies are concerned, I don't think that we are anywhere near contagious. If you get bit, you're a zombie sort of thing. I think it's mainly just on an individual scale, like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah, right now it's just on the experimental level.
Zombie, but you couldn't be turned into one by being bitten by one, for instance, unless, I think what would be the more likely scenario would be if it's the type of malaria or the type of disease that's airborne. That would be the only way I think that would be contagious.
Well, let me just pose one example that hopefully no mad scientists are listening. Say this Dr. Venter, right, and his team take a rabies cell, a rabies virus, and then they make their own genetic programming for it, and then they insert it into a rabies cell or whatever. I think it's a protein, actually. So they make basically a synthetic rabies virus, and then they unleash that on people. Imagine. That would really be at the mouth. It's really possible within the realm of science that we have now.
Pretty true.
Well, we have about 11 minutes left in the show, and we are going to go on a quick commercial break, and then we are going to have a recap of our show so far, and then we're going to talk about a little bit of team news. And you're listening to BFP Radio. Well, we are back. The whole study of zombieism so far that we've been studying, we are doing this on a very general, basic level. So far, we've spoken about our military dealing with certain biological weapons, I guess you could call them, and we're talking about certain outbreaks and certain voodoo spells and things like that where zombieism could be spread. For the last 5 or 10 minutes of the show, I'd like to have Tim and Brent and Nick join me so we could talk about a little bit of team news.
It's awesome.
You want me to start, sir?
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Well, okay, well, I guess what we're going to say, first of all, is Parator is officially announced July 31st through August 8th. Yes, I know everybody. It's amazing. But we're going to California and Nevada again for plenty of Bigfoot and ghost action.
Hey, you want some hardcore Bigfoot and ghost action right there?
That's pretty awesome, guys. Gonna probably be, by the way, we've dropped literally thousands of dollars in our Parators before, but this one is going to be the most outrageous Parator ever. We're not being cheap on anything, guys. We have the best equipment out there now, and we're gonna find this thing. All right, guys.
Yeah,
Of course, yeah.
Well, something great that I'd like to point out, though, is we are in the midst of filming our very first documentary.
Oh, yes, it's going to be quite awesome.
Oh, yeah.
We're filming our very first documentary, and we have our very first book is actually in the midst of being written as well.
Yeah, we're working on a case about a crash that occurred in Ely, Nevada in 1952, and we already have quite a bit more information than most people have. And when we'll probably make a documentary out of that, and we'll write either a report or maybe even a book up if we can get enough information and actually solve the case. But right now it's still in progress.
Yeah, and on top of what Nick was saying, we know a lot more information than most people, maybe too much for our own good. Some things have been pretty scary, right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
I think Jeremy and Nick can mostly elaborate on that, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
Well.
No, we're right now. Yeah, go ahead, Jeremy. Oh, I had to have that played for me by the end of the show. Gosh. Yeah.
Well, something interesting. Also, while we're talking about team news, I was going to discuss something that we've been currently doing. Well, our next upcoming shows. Our next upcoming show, while we're on the topics, is man-eating plants next Sunday. Sorry, I had to think about it for a minute there.
Man-eating plants.
Honestly, you interested in talking about the man-eating plants next Sunday, Brent?
Oh, what did you say?
Are you interested in talking about the man-eating plants next Sunday?
I've never heard of man-eating plants before, but that'll certainly be an interesting subject.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it reminds me of those old cartoons from the 50s or 60s. You know, they got the guy wearing the hunting gear, and he's got his big old long rifle, and he gets swallowed up by this obnoxiously big Venus flytrap.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left in the show, and I was going to see if you guys wanted to end the show 5 minutes early since we ran out of topics a little early.
Well, we can talk a little bit more about the team news and everything, because I think there's a lot more to add. Don't you guys think?
Yeah, we can definitely address more things.
Yeah, if you want, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, I said there's a lot more things we can address. Like I said, the Ely case. Like I said, I'd love to divulge a lot of information, but at the time it probably wouldn't be smart. Parator.
keep our lives anyway, too, Nick.
Yeah, Paratour is going to be a little different this year. We're going to be going outdoors a little bit more than usual. We will be at our location, our secret location out in California, trying to find Bigfoot for, I think, 2 or 3 days. And then for another 3 days, we're going to be at some lookout towers in Northern California in some really remote wilderness areas. We're going to call blast across the valley and see what we can get. And then we'll be going to Georgetown. Right, Georgetown we do the ghost hunting in, right?
Yeah.
Georgetown, not Boulder City. Gold Point on the first day. We'll be headed to the Gold Point. Try to get in the Gold Point Hotel. Have you talked to the guy about that yet, Jared?
Well, the guy at Gold Point, me and him have been speaking for the last couple of months, actually, about that, and he said that he didn't have a problem with it. So we're going to revisit the old post office and some of the cabins and buildings around there from the 1800s. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Hey, Brent, don't you want to go in the basement of the Gold Point Hotel?
What's that?
Don't you want to go in the basement of the Gold Point Hotel where this portal of hell is supposed to be?
Oh, you mean Gold Field?
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I would
Oh, gosh.
That's the most obnoxious one we have. What about Sasha's Crumb, Jerry? Sasha's Crumb? I can play him, too. I gotta find him.
Yeah, go ahead and play him. I was just playing sound effects. Oh, we had to play Sasha's Crumb. But, yeah, there's a brief outline of where we will be going on Paratour. I just wanted to put that out there for everybody to hear.
Yeah, and to say easily, our secret Bigfoot location is, let's just say it's the most infested Bigfoot area we've ever been in, and hopefully this time we'll actually get good footage of it. Right, well, we have 1 minute left in the show, and again, I want to thank everybody for listening to tonight's show. I want to thank all the listeners, all my co-hosts, and again, join us next Sunday at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific. We'll be talking about man-eating plants and other strange paranormal and cryptobotany subjects. This is the first time we're actually discussing cryptobotany.
Cryptobotany.
It will be a good show indeed. And again, thanks for listening. I'll let my co-hosts say their goodbyes. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, bye.
Later.